computer. Cool. So welcome, Cecile. We are very happy to have you here today. I know you have a few things to run through with us today. You are focusing on exotic oils. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the concept behind that and what you're going to be sharing today?
Sure. Basically, I just want to give you 3 ways that you can take your olive oil to another level. And that means either, drizzling it on your lunch, on your dinner, nibbling on it for when you have a dinner party and serving it with bread and things like that. Just a different way to take your, even an olive oil and balsamic just to a different level. So today I have 3. I have a brown butter, so it's not burnt. It's very different. It's got the nuttiness, but it doesn't have the really strong back flavor. So it actually is better to use on a broader, range of things. And that's infused with bay leaves. And I'll finish off with cracked black pepper and sea salt. The other one we're doing is a parsley oil. So there's 2 options for this, which I'll show you the second option. And the first option is just basically not adding the milky element to it. So I've basically blitzed parsley and olive oil, and the measurements for all of these are in my Insta stories, but I can share them again later. So I've basically blitzed in a food processor a handful of flat leaf parsley. You can also use curly, not a problem, and olive oil until it's basically completely smooth. Then
Nice.
What I'm going to do is run it through a strainer so you don't have any of the textured bits, because when you're dipping things, it's not so great to have that. And you can use it then just as the strained element, and then from that we'll also add a milky element, and that's the recipe I used for the ravioli that I shared on my Instagram. And it's super, honestly, it's kind of a bit weird. Like when I came up with it, I was like, really, is this gonna work? But it worked. Let me tell you, it worked. And it's kind of fun because no one really does like the oils and the milks together. It just adds like a really creamy element. And if you don't want to use like cow milk, you can also use coconut cream to make it vegan, which I've done it before, so it absolutely works. Probably actually use coconut milk, not coconut cream, just because the runnier texture than the cream, which is a thicker consistency. And then the last one I've got here, which I did have to do before because you need to let it sit for like 6 hours, is a chili, garlic, and thyme. And basically, I put it in, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. It's infused.
You just mix them together in like a small little pot. I love this, this little one here. You put it on a very low heat for about 30 minutes and then turn it off and then just leave it. Don't put it in the fridge. Don't do anything. It will basically, all those flavors will just be absorbed into the oil. So I did have to do that. With all of these, I'll finish them off. I'll plate them in a little nibble tray, so you can have this on hand for a dinner party, which I think is great. And then we can serve it with some fun little extras. So that's what we'll do today. But as I said, all the exact ingredients for these are in my Instagram stories, and I'll share them after as well.
Perfect. So just on the infusing, I know you said that you've got like this 7-hour infusing. What's the kind of, I know it's like to get all the flavors kind of really singing with each other, right? Is there any kind of insight around like the length of infusing and rules around that?
There's not really. I mean, you can just let it infuse for 2 if you have 2 hours, or overnight if that's easier. It really, for this one, depends on the garlic cloves, because if it's basically for 2 hours, you're still eating fairly like raw garlic, and it has like a very Whereas I actually like to eat the garlic cloves in here and not just leave them as like, you know, a visual element. If you don't want to eat them, that's fine. You've already got that flavor in the oil, but to actually, sometimes you can mash them in the oil and get like fragments of the garlic, but they're just going to be less strong. So you're not going to have that like insane garlic breath after, you know, that's not great for having guests over. So that's basically the length of time. 5 hours will be fine. 4 hours will be fine. I say 6 because it just will give the garlic like a slightly softer texture. Yeah, and not in the fridge, because the fridge will basically stop that like extraction coming. Like it will basically make it slower. So if you put it in the fridge, do it for overnight. But it's an oil, so it does not need to go in the fridge. That's one part.
Very good to know. Cool. So which one are we starting with?
We'll start with the parsley one. So as I said, I've blitzed the oil and the parsley. I'm going to run it through a strainer. And as you can see straight away, you can see how clear that oil is.
Oh, wow, that's so pretty.
And how vibrant that is. And that's the part.
Bring it up a bit more. Oh yeah, wow, it's so bright.
Yeah, like so bright. That's just pure oil and parsley. And and maybe you can see all that's left here is this chunky parsley stuff, which honestly I wouldn't throw away. Like this is great if you need, you know, even on a, like, you know how you can do a beautiful like mashed green pea on toast? This would be amazing in it. So like keep this because it's not bad. Like it's still got all the flavor and everything. You just for dips and stuff, I like the parsley oil. I like the two elements separate, but they're both equally delicious, just separate. So yeah, basically that goes over here. So yeah, this is you can see this is, so that's the vibrant. As I said, you can leave it like this. I will show you the second element because it's just one step on from this. And all I'm going to do is put milk through it. Weird, yes, but it kind of like, I mean.
When did you develop this creation? This is quite interesting that you've just, how did you find those two things working together like that?
I'm going to salt it too because it does need a little bit of, I don't pepper it because I don't love pepper through this sort of oil. This is honestly random. I have to say there's no like backstory. Sometimes there is a backstory to it, but this I used, as you may have seen on my Instagram, from this ravioli, and I just really loved the oil element. So bringing a sauce that's rich and creamy, but without having an actual sauce, like the textured sauce. So I liked an oil, and that's why I came up with this. So that's the creaminess. So it's still got the color, but it's got
good question. Sorry.
And it's not like strong parsley. It's just got that subtle hint, and that's what I kind of, that's what I like.
Cool.
So
it's got a question in from Carl. How long would this oil last in terms of freshness?
If you don't, once you add the milk, that's what will bring, because you're basically using fresh dairy, or if you use the vegan part, then you've got to store it in the fridge. But if you don't add so if you want to use the milk, add it basically when you're serving it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will last 3 months. It's not, because it's an oil, so it's basically sterilized. I would keep it in the fridge though. I saw that's another option. Yeah.
That's answered then. Put it in the fridge.
It's just because you're using fresh parsley, so you're using a fresh element, and but the color will stay. This is the weird thing. So you're not cooking the parsley, and that's what will change the color. So that's the part that will actually, the color will stay, which I love. You can also blanch the parsley to, if you want a stronger parsley flavor, pop it in boiling water for like 30 seconds, then pop it in a nice bath, and it will enhance that parsley flavor, but still keep, you know, but I kind of like it like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just,
so what are you doing with that now? You're pouring it into the serving.
I'm just placing it. In
there. Okay.
So I'll plate every one of them. I am making a right mess here, which is what I love about cooking, but whatever, we're going to go with it. Now the chili oil. So let me show you. This is what I mean by the garlic.
Wow, it's got some serious garlic.
So it's very soft. I'll show you. Yeah, see how soft that is? I basically can squish it with my fingers.
Oh,
like that. See?
Oh, wow.
I mean, no one can eat this apart from me, so I can squish it and play with my food.
Don't do that when you're serving it for dinner parties, basically.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't squish it with your
This is
fingers.
the comical behind the scenes, right? Please don't do that in front of guests. This is done. I don't need to add anything more. There's chili in there, and there's the thyme. So I'm not going to add black pepper. I'm not going to add salt. If you want to do a salt, then you put it basically in the serving dish on the top, and then once people dip their bread in, they get that fresh salt element rather than salt through it, and it's actually very different, the flavor. So I would just sprinkle sea salt on the top. It will stay on the top, and then once people dip it in, then they'll get that salt element. And what I mean by you can crush the, I'll just put it in here.
So talk me through what's in there again. There's garlic.
So I put about 10 cloves of garlic in here, peeled. You don't need to chop the ends, like that would basically just meld in with the whole garlic clove. I've put this sprig of thyme.
Yum. Okay. Quite a good. Not too much.
No, it's just like a sprig. I've used this, which is smoked paprika chili flakes, which I prefer because it gives a smoky element rather than just a straight up hot element, which I feel like sometimes is too much when you're dipping your bread in. You're like, oh my god. This gives the smokiness as well as the chili. And so, as I said, then I just put it with oil, put it on the heat for about 30 minutes on very, very low, because you don't want it to like bubble. You're not trying to like, you know, fry something. You're just giving it an underheat that will just basically warm the ingredients that allow them to release the flavors. So that's all I did. And then when you serve it, you don't serve it with the sprig. Please don't leave the sprig in, because that element is not tasty. You're just using that flavor, really. So what I'm doing here.
Are there other ways that you can use that? Like you could use that kind of oil for other things, right? Like, I don't know. Would you put it on a marinade or?
Yeah,
no.
perfect.
Yeah?
You can add then, can you see that? No.
Yeah, just,
I'll keep it. Maybe, right, get that away. So what I'm doing here, as I said, you can leave the garlic cloves whole, or with the back of a spoon, you can just crush them slightly. So when you dip your bread in, you're getting like little clumps of garlic rather than just a whole clove. So, I mean, again, I'm making a right mess here. Whatever. So does that make sense? You're basically squishing it with the back of the spoon into the garlic cloves, and it will like break apart. So then when you put the bread in, or the other way is get people to do it themselves. Have fun with the food too. When they dip the leave a little spoon or a toothpick, so they put the garlic clove on their bread, and then they can squish it themselves with a spoon, and that makes a paste along the bread themselves, and it gets them like involved as well.
But so how garlicky is it though? Like, is it concerningly garlicky if you're, squidging
no,
it on
and
the
the
bread, like
thing
you
is
said?
with this, you don't have to put the garlic clove on the bread as well. Like, you can just take the oil without the garlic, and it's got it infused, but you're not talking about tasting like garlic bread. It's already like basically let it go, but it is garlic, so that it is, there is an element of that in there. It's just not, and this is why I let it sit for that long, because we're talking about 2 hours, then you're really chomping into a garlic clove, and it's so, so we got those two there. Is there any questions?
We've just had someone else join, so just to recap on the new joiner, we're going through 3 oils today that Cecile has pre-made half of it, and she's just taking us through a little bit about how you can plate it and present it, and the little kind of extra hacks and tips to taking the pre-made into serving them. So just to run through a quick recap, Cecile, obviously they're all going to be on your plate channel, but you're doing 3 today, aren't you? Green one?
3. So we've got the parsley oil with the option of taking it with the milky element. Then we've got the infused for 6 hours, the thyme, smoked chili flakes, and garlic.
Yum.
And that's all I've heated it and basically then let it sit. And then we haven't done, which I'll do now, the brown butter, which is basically in a small pot. I had about 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. You do not put it on high heat because you will burn it. Please do not. If you want brown butter, that's great, but put it with pasta and stuff, make that like really strong flavor. This is brown butter, so I haven't let it basically split and like brought that really dark color out in the butter. I've then put oil into that, so you've basically got this volume, and then put bay leaves in it, and that's all it is. This can sit in your fridge for a long time, so you do not have to drink this all at once. Please do not, actually.
I've had Naomi just say that always happens to me with the butter. I think.
Not
getting it right.
It's hard because you think, oh, it's going to take ages for it to melt. It won't. So just stay over the heat. Put it on low. Like, the worst thing is to crank it up and put it on, because it will just then, like, when it melts, all the parts around it that melt first will then brown and then burn before the center parts even melted. So put it on a low, and you will, it will just be easier. So this, you can see that there's little crystallizations from the, can you see that?
Oh yeah, just, yeah.
You can, maybe the light, sorry. You can strain that out. I don't, because I actually like the element of that. It doesn't really have any pros or cons to it. Some people just don't like the white lumps, is kind of the main reason why people, but just don't serve the bay leaf. So you can see, I'll get it, my fingers. I've got 3 large bay leaves in there. So just when you serve it, I've left them in the jar. So when you store them, leave them in there, because they'll just keep absorbing flavor into the oil and butter. But just don't put it out when you serve it, because I don't want people eating leaves, So all I'm going to do with that is like this. Again, we like to make mess in this place. It's fine. We just clean it up after.
Lots of dipping going on with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a mess when everyone
dipping
puts
and dripping.
their bread and things in anyway. So, so can you see that? This is just the dish I'm using. You can put them in, 3 different ones to put around the apartment or the house or outside or whatever like that, or you put them all in one. And you can do like multiple ones of these. So you can put a station basically, and put the stations around, which I like because then it gives an option.
Yeah, love it.
And this is what I said about the salt with the garlic oil. You can also actually do, oh, that would be good. Probably put the salt on both the brown butter and the garlic one. So all I'm going to do, this is large salty Himalayan pink sea salt. You can use any other, like it doesn't have to be the pink, but please use the larger crystals just because that will stay on the top. And all you do is just pop it on the top like that, and the flakes will sit on top. And then when people put their bread in, they'll get that salt element without and it would be nicer, like that brings the flavor out even more than when you salt it during the cooking. You can salt during the cooking, and I do. In my last video, if you saw it, we talked a little bit about that. But for this, when you're doing serving elements, it's best to salt it at the end. I have some pumpkin bread. You can leave it in slices, or you can just scatter it like this.
Nice. That looks so delicious. Is pumpkin bread your preferred bread of choice?
No, it definitely isn't. But sometimes, well, when entertaining, the bread selection is quite key, I think. People often are drawn or discouraged by bread for some reason. And gluten-free bread would be fine. Like these go very well with them. But it's also, you can't toast bread when you serve it as nibbles. So to have it fresh and to know that it will stay this spring
soft, yeah.
But also the nuts and the seeds and stuff in this also add another texture when you dip. So you don't have to use pumpkin. You can use like a white sourdough, a wholemeal sourdough. I wouldn't use sliced bread because, but something that absorbs. So don't toast it. Toast will not absorb because you've already like made it crunchy.
Yeah.
Thing that just has this spring to it and won't dry out. And that's just the quality that you get basically. So that's that. You can, on the end of the parsley oil, I sometimes like when I serve it just to do a squeeze of fresh lime into the one, and that's the same as doing the salt on the end, just so to get that fresh element when you dip into the bread. Of course, as the evening or the day goes on, that top layer will disappear, so you can come back and do it again, or but that's the fun of styling in the beginning, and just seeing people at the beginning having that like that different texture and flavor when they first dip into it. So which one should I try first?
Ooh, I think the butter one. The reason I'm saying butter is because someone's written, I saw a video of someone turning butter into edible candles. Could you sort of freeze it and also do this with oil?
Maybe I'm going to look into it. I'm not up to that stage yet.
Oil candles, frozen oil candles. Yum. Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
It's good because it's got a mixture of butter and oil. So you do have, I don't know if you've ever had like tasted the difference between margarine and quality butter on your bread.
Yeah.
Vast.
Yeah.
This has the butter element, but you've almost like thinned it out and brought the buttered flavor into an oil. And then the salt, the bay leaf just adds a subtle flavor. You're not going to taste it the first time. But if you keep this for, a month or two, you're going to taste that bay leaf like over that period of time more and more.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds delicious.
That's just about yeah, that's what infusing does. Okay, Now I'm
Nice.
going
What's
to take.
next? I also noticed you label all your little jars. Is that a cook thing? In case someone goes into the fridge and touches it that shouldn't.
I make all of my own sauces and relishes and things, and basically that's the preserving world. So you've got in your cupboard the name of a relish or chutney or whatever, and the date, or you just put the month and the year, because you can have relishes from 2-3 years ago, and basically you have that you have to start with those older years first. So now when I go into the fridge, and you forget the amount of stuff that I cook, and then I go into the fridge and I'm like, what is that? It was like 5 days ago, but
That's such a good tip, actually. I always do that. Things by doing that.
Famous.
So what one's coming out on top?
What's that?
What one's coming out on top as your favorite so far?
I have to say, the color of the parsley I love. I always love that green, vibrant, natural, may I add as well, because I haven't done anything except for the natural elements. So far, I have to say it's the brown butter. I love that butter flavor. Okay, here goes the garlic. I'll tell you how garlicky it is. So I don't have a garlic clove on this too. So this is just the plain oil.
Okay. Because the garlic clove is a bit risque.
Actually, that's a perfect. I didn't put a garlic clove on my bread. That's just purely the garlic in the oil. And you've got that garlic flavor. It's not strong. Like, you won't get crazy garlic breath from it. It's important to know, okay? That flavor of the garlic. So it is there. I'll say if you add the garlic clove on top of it, you're going to get more of a kick. But again, because we've let it sit for 6+ hours, it's not going to be that rich, crazy raw garlic, and it's edible. It's so delicious because it's just like it melds, it smooshes almost. So
nice. A garlic breath would surely be worth it though. Sean said.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it either, but at a party, I don't know, when you're talking and mingling, the worst thing you anyway, that's things we have to think about sometimes.
Thanks, Cecile. So let's see the final shot. Looking beautiful. And you're going to load that to your channel on the plate. You've obviously done the recipe, where the recipe will be on the plate as well, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
I put all of. I just wanted to do something that's not a whole recipe today, like we did the soup last the other Thursday. But you can equally have fun with just making sauces with oils and spicing your cooking up that way. It doesn't have to straight away be a whole dish if it's too much. Change the oils you serve and change the way you plate it and the breads you use, and you're already changing your lifestyle around food as well. And that's why we wanted to do something this way today. And going forward, we will now have every live on a Thursday. The time may change, but Thursday, every second Thursday. So at least you can lock that in, and I will try to basically tell you on the start of the month what the lives will be, so to lock them in and what you'll be getting under the Cecile Vardis Creates page, which I'm excited about.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing this with us tonight. I'm definitely very hungry now, so gonna go eat some dinner. But looking forward. I wish you could just transport it to me. Looking forward to your next live. Obviously the updates will be made on the plate and via your Instagram. So looking forward to seeing what's next. And likewise with people who have joined today and people who have missed this one, there's more to come in the next few weeks.
Totally. I think this full video, if you want to send it to friends or you think it would be a good, good idea to have this idea, it will be, this is recorded, so it will be uploaded to YouTube as well. So stay tuned for the link for that so you can share it around. We do appreciate that as well.
Nice. Thank you so much, Cecile. Have a good night. We'll speak soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.